And we're live. Hello, everybody. No intros today. We're getting straight into just having a nice little chat with you. I say no intros. I mean no countdown, sorry. This is awesome. We're straight in. There's people already here. There's chat lined up. I can see it all in front of me. And back in my happy place, if I'm honest. So while people are coming in, let me just welcome you to this Ecamm Foundations Masterclass. This is something we've been running twice a year, and I absolutely love doing this. So, hey, I'll just see a few names here. Rob, Paula, Paul's on, David's on, Michael, Rachel's on. Let us know when you do arrive. Just jump onto the chat there and post in, because it helps me out, and it's nice to just see who's here. Val's on, come on. Yeah, great to see you too, Val. Val's all over the place, and I'm trying to pin her down for a call, and between the pair of us, it's terrible. So this is the first time we've actually got on a call together in a long time. James is in. David, lovely to see you all. Anne-Marie, the Wanderer, Australia, good to see you. Right, now this is, I'm deliberately, this is a little bit frustrating for both of us right now, because I want to have this chat up in front, but I always come into this going, no, don't do any branding. I've got it all planned out, but I don't want it all done for you, because I think the best way to learn is to just see me actually building from scratch. So we're going to get into that, but I just want to wait. We're only like a minute in, so why don't you just let me know where you're from. So Todd must have read my mind, Washington, D.C. Oh, Eric says, long-time OBS user finally making the switch. Come on. That's fantastic. Where are the rest of you based? Saw Jeff put earlier on Tennessee. Orcas Island. Laura, Minnesota. Great to see you, Laura. Palo Alto. Am I pronouncing that right, Paul? Claudio. UK base, says David. Philadelphia, Hollywood, Oakland, Elkhart. Come on. Right. I won't drag this out anymore. I just wanted to make sure, because we don't have a countdown timer, I want to make sure that just for being a minute or two late, then people aren't missing anything. So well done for getting here on time. So, and I was actually just going to, I was going to get distracted and say, let's see who's come from the furthest, actually, but we won't do that. Disneyland Paris. Oh, near Disneyland Paris. Oh, fair enough. Right. New Zealand. Okay. I think somebody's winning on the distance. Whatever time is it in New Zealand? That's got to be like middle of the night, hasn't it? Cindy. Florida. Right. Come on. Let's get into this, shall we? So, who's ready for 2 hours of me? This is a 2-hour masterclass. Always think I must be crazy doing this. And hopefully we'll all be able to last till the end of that. And then actually we'll be back tomorrow doing another 2 hours at the same time over on Zoom. But I do love this format. I think it's the best way to learn, really. I know we can do, and I create a ton of YouTube videos, and we can build courses and things, but there's something about live interactive working like this. And this one is, I'm less keen on this sort of YouTube experience, because I'm restricted to seeing your comments in a chat, and we have a delay there as well. When we get to tomorrow, that's when it really gets fun, because I'm going to have a gallery of you all sitting on here looking at me. I'll be able to see you, see what you're building, bring you on screen, speak to you. It's a wonderful experience doing it in Zoom. So do make sure to get signed up so that you can come and join us over there. It's totally free, but we just need you registered so we can send you that Zoom link. Now, I am going to be keeping this as simple as possible. And, forgive me for those of you that are more advanced and you're just, wanting to see new things. I really am going to be trying to keep this at a very simple level going through, and I hope everybody appreciates that. I do want you to, my kind of intentions for this really is that I want you to feel inspired by what you actually can build, and be amazed at actually what you can put together in 2 days of building like this. So yeah, wherever you're at, we're going to see how you come out at the end of this. And I'm confident that by tomorrow, you're all going to be showing up with some lovely branding and yeah, some scenes that you can take away and actually use yourselves and be really proud of. So talking of that, 5 a.m. Cindy, talking to that, why don't you tell me what skill level you're at with Ecamm? I'm kind of pitching this at beginners. Let's go like a 1 to 10. 10 being Ken and Glenn, the founders, or Doc Rock, or somebody else up there at 10, or a 0 would be like you're just unpacking it and having a look, I guess. So give me a bit of a scale on here. Where would you put yourself? And everybody, Paul is saying she's a 1. Everybody plays themselves down a bit, and maybe that's not a bad thing, but hopefully we haven't got too many 10s in here. Beginner, 3 or 4, got a 0, a 2, complete beginner, David. We've got a 3, a 6, about a 3 out of 10. 1, never used it. Come on. Okay, we've got another 1, a 3, a 0, a 4. Right, so I'm quite pleased we're pitching this at beginner level. I think you're in the right place. And of course, the beauty of this being here on YouTube is that as soon as we're done, it instantly turns into a replay and you'll be able to go and watch it again or, pause it, rewind it a bit. So don't panic too much if we're going through this today and you think, I completely missed that. I'm not going to be able to really see in time and rewind, but you can come back to this, make a note of how many minutes in you were. And if there's a bit you need to come back to, that's cool. But again, if possible, if you can do that before we jump on the Zoom call tomorrow, I genuinely would love to see people showing up with some branding that they've made. Okay, so it's going to be great. We have got an 8. Oh, come on. Rob's about a 6. Yeah. Right, let's leave that there. It's always hard knowing how much chat to look at and how much to kind of leave you to. So I ought to just introduce myself. A lot of you won't know who I am. My name's Adrian Salisbury, and I have created tons of Ecamm-related videos for YouTube. And it was, we got them up pre-lockdown, and we've had hundreds of thousands of views on those videos over that time. We've had so many people that have used them and watched them. And so, we're really we're the original training provider for Ecamm. And we used to do that. We still do that through our Ecamm Live Academy. So we've been running this more than that, isn't it? Oh, wow, that's making me feel old. We've been running this now for 6 years. And we've had over 2,000 Ecamm users that have come through our academies. And we're still running them twice a year for new people or for folk that have maybe got Ecamm and think, I just need to get back up and running with it. I'm not really using the full power out of it. So Ecamm Live Academy is what we've been running. And we actually have our next one coming up a week on Monday. Hence the reason for jumping on here with you. But I'll explain that in just a minute. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. I'll talk a little bit about our Ecamm Academy today, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow. And for those of you that have registered and join us tomorrow, I do have a nice little discount for you as well, if you want to come and have more of me. Okay, so we've called this Ecamm Foundations. So why do I want to teach you the foundations? What am I really meaning about foundations? I think what I've learned over years of working and doing this kind of training with Ecamm users is that you're all using Ecamm for very different things. And rather than me going just down one lane with it, we did this last year and really thought, okay, there's some foundational elements here that regardless of where you're using Ecamm and what the output is, these 4 stages that we're going to go through today are really foundational to everything that you're doing on Ecamm. And so I have done, the only bit of prep that I've done is to put these little slides together. So those 4 stages are planning, building, practicing, and delivering. And, very simple, really. You'll see as we go through this, it should be all obvious, but I'm afraid time and again, I'm realizing that this stuff isn't being done. And so I just want this to be a fresh reminder to you, or certainly if you're starting from scratch, let's get you right from the start learning the right way. Okay, so that's really why I'm coming at this as foundations. And so today I'm going to go through these 4 stages. I'm going to be about 80% in that build area, but just top and tailing with the other points. And then we will have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. Now, I do have moderators helping me out in here. I can see that we've got Ecamm Live in here, Paul as well. And so they will be helping out just to potentially answer any questions, dropping any links and things in there. If you could help me and them out, please. If you're asking a specific question for me, if you could put a Q at the start of it, a little Q and a colon, then as I'm looking at a busy chat, I can jump quite quickly to the people that are asking questions. So don't be surprised if Paul or somebody else jumps in and answers if it's a more general question. If it's something to come to me, I'll try to pick that up and put it in here. Or maybe, Paul, if I've completely missed one, you could just post it back in again and I can make sure I catch it. Finally, really, on the last bit of housekeeping now, tomorrow is the same time on Zoom. So as I say, get registered and you'll get an invite and all the links and details for that. Again, we'll run for a couple of hours and until I'm worn out pretty much. We will be covering very much the Ecamm into Zoom integration. It is such a powerful feature and I still see people not using it, not really understanding it. So we really are going to keep drilling in on that one. So I'm going to show you how to get on that. And even if you come onto the Zoom meeting the other way, I will show you how you could leave the meeting and come back through Ecamm. So we're all good. It also gives me a chance to look at what you've built. And again, there will be plenty of time for question and answer, and it will be a lot more interactive over there than we're able to do here. Right, so I think that's all my housekeeping bits out the way. Paul's just saying, register at the link pinned at the top of the chat window. Thank you, Paul. I didn't even know you could do that. Right, so let's talk about planning. We'll spend about 10 minutes or so here, and then we've got 15 minutes maybe, and then we'll get into actually building. And that's the bit you've come for, is to see me having a play with Ecamm. So we've got to do a bit of planning. And to help me out with this, what would be really good is let me know what it is that you are using Ecamm for. I've kind of grouped these as I think. So I want you just to pop in the chat what numbers, and you can have as many of those numbers or write all of them if you want. So I'm thinking live streaming like this. Is this what you're using Ecamm for? Are you doing presentations, which could be a combination of this? I'm thinking more presentation being over on Zoom, more like a webinar. Is it coaching calls? I've got customers that kind of live on Zoom, just doing coaching calls back to back. What about podcasts, recording them or are actually turning up on somebody else's? YouTube, recording YouTube videos with this, or actually short form videos like vertical videos, because we can do all that in here. So we've got a few, we've got 3, 5, and 6. 2 and 6. Oh, we're all over the place. We've got all of them. Good. 1 and 2, 4 and 5, live streaming, coaching, YouTube tutorials, Zoom, courses. Yeah, courses is another one, which I guess is kind of like recording YouTube videos. I should have put that on there. Live streaming, presenting, conferences, TikTok, 2, 3, 5, 4, 5, 6, 1. Right. So a real mix, actually. This would have been interesting doing this as a poll, wouldn't it? Yeah, Cindy says, ooh, vertical. Looking forward to this. Cindy, just very quickly, and we're not doing it today because we really said we'll look at this in our academy, but not on today because it really is beginner foundation level. But the new update that is coming out imminently will allow us to record horizontally like this in a 16:9, but at the same time, it'll be sending out a vertical feed as well. So we could actually stream in 2 different formats at the same time. And also for recording content, it means that we can record videos in those 2 formats at the same time as well. So not needing to pull it out, put it in another bit of editing software, change the size of it. So yeah, some really powerful features coming out in that one if you wanted to do vertical video. but we can still do vertical anyway. And you can do that if that's all you're doing. We just change the shape of this around and we can record those videos in that format. Right, so let's take this off. Well, actually, I can stay there for just a minute. So really for any of those, my point is we've got a real mixture there. And for any of those outputs, any of those reasons that you're using Ecamm, you got to do a bit of basic planning. And I'm not talking about, putting a runner show together and things. I literally just use a Google Doc, but it is the basics of what you're thinking about when you're planning. And I'm just going to use like this masterclass, what we're doing today and tomorrow, as an example of planning. And so all I'm meaning is, why am I doing this? So, you might be thinking about your meeting that you're showing up to, or a webinar, or a video that you got to record, or a TikTok. Why are you doing it? Why am I doing this? Well, at one level, I'm doing it because I want to teach you how to use Ecamm. I want to excite you. I want to show you what is possible with this and genuinely have you leave just loving this tool. But at a level above that, the reason I'm doing this is because we're opening up the doors to our Ecamm Live Academy in just over a week's time. And rather than doing a webinar where I'm pitching to you and I'm selling to you, I figured, and we've done this for over a year or so now, it's way more fun all round for us to actually show up and teach you something practically. And hopefully, my hope with this, my goal with this, is that you would think, this is really good. I want more of this training. And you want to come and join me in my Ecamm Academy. So that's really my why for why I'm doing this. Who am I doing this for? Well, it's obvious in this case, we're talking to Ecamm users, and we're really pitching it at a beginner level, or those that are thinking, right, I want to move up with this. I want to really start using this for everything that I'm doing. And so that's kind of the who. The call to action from today, my call to action is going to be, please come and join us tomorrow. And then from tomorrow, it'll be, come and join us in Ecamm Live Academy. So, but with you, we think of call to actions with YouTube videos, but on your coaching calls, you ought really to be thinking in advance of those calls, right, where do I want to lead this client to next time? And it might just be booking in the next call, or there might be some homework that you're giving them, but really that call to action is just a prompt that within your, during this training that you're putting together, what is the next thing that you want them to do? So good to just be thinking about this as you're planning it out. And then I've put to actually plan it out. What I mean by that is, now I've thought, okay, this is why I'm doing it. This is who I'm doing it for. This is the goal of it. How am I going to deliver this training now? So we've got this, and we used to run it that we did like across 5 days. We did like half an hour to an hour across 5 days. And we found people would drop off. And actually, yeah, we've found that people prefer to come and do, and hopefully that's true with yourselves, prefer to come and stay and do a 2-hour block, get it all done. And you've learned a lot within that time rather than dripping it across days. So, we're looking at this sort of thing, and we're saying, how do we plan this out? How am I going to come at it? So I'm thinking of these 4 stages that I've got. I'm thinking, okay, we need to do some building. And in a second, I'm going to come across to just talking about the Ecamm scene side of it. But so I'm planning it out, and you need to be planning out as you're doing this. And just before you jump on that meeting, thinking about where you're going. It's nothing worse than showing up, or it's nothing worse than being on the other end when the person on the other end's going, hang on a minute, I've got a photo or a video. Let me just go and find it. And, so we plan it out and we make sure that we've got everything ready before we get here. Timings aren't always an issue. If you're on a call, that you've got like an hour or 30 minutes with them. If anything, this is harder doing 2 hours because it's quite easy to just think it'll be fine. So I've actually got a stopwatch that'll go off when I need it to at a point of building when we need to be wrapping that up and moving on, else we won't have Q&A time. So yeah, consider timings and just how you're going to lay that out so that you're respecting your viewers and you're not just going to end up rambling on one thing and being completely off time and missing the content that they've come for. Then I'm writing out a script or an agenda. So if this were a YouTube video, I would have a full word-for-word script written out. The same with a webinar. With this, I've just got bullet points really that I'm following up here. But I need to get that in before I start looking at my Ecamm scenes, because I can waste time building out scenes that actually I don't need, or I can completely miss scenes that I actually do need. So get that script done, get that bullet point, the plan, know exactly what you're doing and where you're going, and then we come on to our Ecamm scenes. So for example, what scenes am I looking at today? What do I need? Well, for today on YouTube, I need a branded up version of this, which is me, and then with slides. So this one's already made. And now this one isn't a scene as such, but I need to be able to, in my case, I'm going to be using this live demo, and we're going to be the bulk of the time looking at my screen as we're building over there. So that's kind of like a scene in terms of me planning. I want to be able to bring your comments on. I've already said that one to you, that, I want you to be able to see the chat going as well. And I want to be able to bring some comment overlay, or you'll see what I mean about comment overlays. If you haven't seen this before, I'm actually working through with a very small group of customers at the minute, working very closely with them, getting studios built. And we're just moving on to Ecamm and talking about this. And as I'm just mentioning to them these things, and I'm demonstrating a bit of the branding, I'm showing them how I can bring a comment in with branding, these guys are going, wow, that's amazing. So, some of you will find that as well. Others of you know it's a thing, but you've never actually really used it. But comments and things, bringing them in, having them branded, it is huge for people. And then I really could do with an outro that could lead us into tomorrow. I'm not going to be too worried if we don't get to that one. And then tomorrow, I want to build out some scenes for tomorrow. So I want to be able to have, and don't worry if this doesn't make too much sense yet. You will see exactly what I mean when I'm doing it. But I want to be able to have me on one side of the camera and an active speaker, a Zoom active speaker pop up on the other side. And then we're going to play around with that a bit so I can let people come on different sizes. I want to be able to bring the Zoom gallery, because we can do that as well. So you'll see me and then the Zoom gallery. And then I also need to be able to share my Ecamm Live Academy website. And I've got a little QR code that I want to bring in for that one as well. So you could just zap it with your phone and it will take you straight to my sales page. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Rather than just randomly building scenes, I want you to see how I come at this. Genuinely, I am starting with a complete blank profile in here, and I've done what I've just said to you. I've thought about all of these points. I've got it planned out, and you're going to see me now actually starting to build out these scenes and get ready for it. Now, don't worry if what I've covered there aren't the things that you want. Maybe you're thinking, but I need to show a video, or I need to be have an image come up on screen. Things like this. These are just the foundations, and you will see that as we're building in here, the same things will apply when you're bringing in those other elements. The same navigation comes up. So this is more about how I come at it and using this as an example to show you how we're using Ecamm for it. So that's the planning stage. That's as much that I need to say about that. And you really should be doing this, like I say, with everything that you're doing. Don't underestimate just spending, and it might only be a few minutes, but just spending that bit of time doing some planning before you jump in, and save you the hassle of something coming up that you haven't thought of. So any questions specifically about planning before I jump on? And you'll be pleased to know that I'm only actually 3 minutes behind where I'm meant to be. So I am sticking to my times. Right. Okay. I'm not seeing anything there particularly. If we do, then I can just jump back in, but keep them till the end. Sorry, somebody said what's called to CTA. Yeah, Val's already answered that one. Lovely. So we're going to start at the start, and I'm going to show you around Ecamm and assume nothing. So we'll come into here. In fact, what I might just do is just zoom in a bit so you're not too distracted by the chat over there. So here's Ecamm Live. And we're obviously live at the moment, so my screen is going to look a little bit different, and there will be things that I can't do and change because we're live. But look, we can see we've got 93 people on. Only 18 of you have given me a thumbs up. Let's see. You'll see that change live if we get some thumbs up. But right, so let's have a look around this navigation. Now, when you open this up, and a few of you have said you've literally just got it and you haven't downloaded it, or you have and you haven't done anything with it. Now, yours will look different because when it comes in, all of these elements here are free and can move around and you can position them where you want. I just seem to have settled on this, and I like it that I keep my scenes, my overlays. I always keep my sound levels here because look, I've got a visual cue in front of me here that just tells me that we're not muted. Camera switcher, I could possibly lose this one. So as I come up over here, you'll notice that when your cursor comes over it, the navigation comes on. So this at the top left here is showing me my scenes window. And what you'll find is that if you click on any of these, although of course it's not doing it now. So if you want to get to this scenes window here, and I'll explain what scenes are in just a minute, that's where you get this one. We come across the top. This is on because we're live and it's showing me my time. It's showing me my views. Then we come along to this right side. So this is my camera switcher at the top. This is really the main way that you're accessing all of these different overlays that are coming up around you. And sorry, I call them overlays. I'm going to get you confused. I don't mean overlays. I mean these tabs or windows. I don't know what the official word is for them, but sorry if I'm talking about overlays, I mean these around the window here. So you've got your camera switcher there. We're not really going to get into that one today. It allows you to have placeholders, but for most of you, what you're doing, you're not going to need this one. So I am going to turn that one off. This is my overlays, and you can see that as I click it, if it's open, it's giving me a little glow over there. So the overlays are actually the elements that we're going to put onto the window, and you'll see that as we build them. This is my sound levels. We've got a camera effects, which is jumped to another window. So camera effects comes in here. And if I wanted to do anything like being able to zoom in and things, I can do that in here. Or if I were using green screen or wanted to change, we've got various effects and things in there that you can touch. So that's all under camera effects. What have we got then? We've got sound effects. So if we've got any of these little sound effects like that, we've got a library of them in here, and you can actually drop music files in here as well. Then your chat, which I've got open over there. This is bringing in guests in interview mode. To be honest, don't use this anymore. It's an alternative way of bringing a guest in. I tend to use Zoom. So we'll see tomorrow how we could bring a guest into Zoom. And so you could be running an interview. You don't need to be on Zoom. Maybe you just want to record a podcast or a show for putting up onto YouTube. You can bring a guest in. So you could bring them in this way into interview mode, or actually, I think way more people now are using Zoom and bringing people into that. So I'll turn that one off on here for now. Then Zoom, which we will talk about. This is how we're going to get ourselves onto the call tomorrow. And we can either start a new meeting or we can join with an ID. So the ID link that you'll get in your email, you could paste that into there. And what you'll find is that you can go straight into Zoom from Ecamm without actually having Zoom open. So which is great for saving a bit of processing power. So we don't have to have Zoom open as well as Ecamm, because Ecamm's got a version of Zoom built into it. And I tend to use this all the time. It's way easier than going to Zoom and having to type in a link. I just drop it in here. And the same with scheduled ones. I've got calls and things that are in here. And so I can jump into them that way. Anything that I've got scheduled up in Zoom, as soon as it's linked up to Zoom, It works so nicely together. It's one of the best updates really that Ecamm did was this Zoom integration. It really has opened it up to so much. Now, normally at the bottom here, you would have a button that would either say to go live if you're live streaming, or if you just wanted to record without streaming, it would say record down in the center. So that's kind of your navigation. There is a preview window here. Again, I'm not going to get into that one today. It really is just popping up an extra window for you and allowing you to do some editing, but it can get confusing and people have got stuck with it. So I would just suggest leaving that one alone for now if you are at this beginner level. Right, so that's a walk around here. You'll find that when you click on this last one, this is your preferences. And so this is where we can dial in all the settings that you need. And we are going to quickly go through this. And then I'm going to start actually building out some scenes and showing you how to do this. So when you click, your first tab is General. I don't want to go through everything. In fact, what I might encourage you to do is to almost come back to this in the replay. And if you want to just copy across what I've done, pretty much default on these, your account details, stream, because we're on at the minute, I can't change anything, but this is where you would change the size of it from 720 up to 4K as a stream. You can change the size of it. So I'm in 16:9 at the minute, but as I say, you could be doing vertical or square or different shapes. Your frame rate, and you've got some advice there depending on the region that you're in. 25 for the UK, 30 tends to be North America. Then we've got a high quality mode, and there's a little speed test down here as well that you can do that's built in. Recording, so we're doing a local recording. So even though I'm going up to YouTube now, there will be a local recording on here. I'll pull it down a bit and you can see me as well. So there is a local recording being done. And if I've got multiple cameras linked to this, I can set them. And when I finish this, I'll get a clean recording back from all of those different cameras that I've got attached. And interview and guests. So tomorrow when we're doing this and I'm bringing guests into Ecamm, and maybe I'm bringing them up on stage, Ecamm will give me a lovely recording of them as well. So that's really good. You can have isolated audio tracks if you wanted. So if you're someone who's needing just an audio only version of what you're doing to give to someone for a podcast, it can give you that file as well. A few other bits down there. Destinations. This is where you're going out to for your streaming. Video. I would encourage you, if you are working through this with me now, change this default one to blank. And I think the default here is to live motion on the transition. Yeah, the rest of them is really up to you. My speakers, normally I wouldn't be playing out through these speakers. If I'd got a guest on, I'd be needing to have, or tomorrow I shall need to be in headphones, but because there's no sound coming out of my computer, it's not anything that's going to cause a problem. I've got some mic delay turned on this one. Again, yeah, there might be times where you notice that there's a delay and between the camera and the microphone. And so I've done a test beforehand and I know that there's a delay in here. So again, Ecamm can handle all that for me. Interviewing, there's some bits in there. Screen sharing, there's some options there. These two you don't really need. And Zoom, I would encourage you please to have a look at setting this up before tomorrow. Just make sure that these are set. This is the last of the settings. We're now going to get onto some cool building, but just bear with me a second and copy these across. So never admit participants. I would also put never on this second one. Zoom capturing mode, live streaming. It doesn't really matter on this one. Show the guest names in camera mode. So when you have that Zoom guest, if you want that to come onto screen with them, you can tick that. Include Zoom active speaker camera. You want that ticked. You want to untick showing yourself as an active camera. The reason being, if I've got me on one side and active on the other, then I'm going to end up appearing twice on camera, and we don't want that. Exclude visible inputs. Tick that one as well. That just means that if Paul, for instance, was featuring as a guest on the camera with me. In the same way, when active speaker is listening, it doesn't want to pick either of us on up that are already on screen there. I've got this set that Zoom audio is disabled. So the settings that I've dialed into Ecamm override Zoom. Spotlight myself is just when I go into Zoom, every time we get two people in, it'll force it to spotlight me. I make that setting over in Zoom, so I'm not needing it here. And tick to have the chat and the Q&A brought in. Right. So I wanted to just get that out the way. The settings are important, and it can make a big difference actually to what you're doing. If you suddenly find something's wrong, or you're going, why is mine not looking like Adrian's? It's probably because of that. Right. So we've had a look around it then. Let me just explain profiles. The idea with profiles, and really I create a new profile every time I'm doing a new show. So for instance, I've got a profile for this called Ecamm Foundations. I have another one for my Remarkable program. I've got another one for my Impact program. So I've got different ones, and I've got a profile for 4K recording. I've got a profile for vertical video. So rather than the point of profiles really is that I'm not going to ever end up with turning it on and realizing I've got my settings all wrong. So if the settings that I've got, the colors, the overlays, the things that I use, if I've got those dialed in, my brand is very much black, red, white across most of my programs that I do. So my comment overlays that are coming in will have black and red on them. And that isn't really appropriate to today, because we want to try and stick with this blue and orange, which is very much the branding color around these foundations. So I can dial in those settings to one of my profiles, and then I can create a new profile and I can brand it up with different colors. I can change the stream size, all these different things. So we create a new profile really for every different show that we're doing, or different outputs that we're doing. Then within a profile, what I was mentioning was scenes. And if you think in terms of, like, I'm just using those slides were just coming in from a Google presentation, like a keynote or a PowerPoint. If you think of it like that when you put a new slide up in PowerPoint, it's blank to start with. And that's like a scene. We start with a completely blank scene, and then you bring elements in. And typically on PowerPoint, it's just text, but you could drop an image in, you could drop a video clip in there. They are like our overlays that we're putting on top of our scenes. So does that make sense? So the profile is the folder, if you like, that we're putting this whole project in. Then we're creating a new scene every time we want to change something on camera. And this is what we're going to be building now for the next 40 minutes or so. So it'll all make sense. So we're going to build out scenes. And when we start with a blank scene, we use overlays to build it up and make it look different to the previous one. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's fine. It's all right. I've got a note there, but I'm doing differently. So we're going to build some scenes. And before I do anything, I just want to talk to you a minute about branding. This is something that we've brought into our Ecamm Live Academy in the last round, and we'll be absolutely doing it again this time, is rather than you just going, okay, I'll just copy Adrian and I'll build out some scenes and I'll make them black and red like he's doing. And then I find out that actually you've got a really bright website, and anybody that has, maybe they've been on your webinar and it's all this black and red, and then they get to your website and it's all bright and it's pastel colors. They're going to think, well, this doesn't feel like this fits at all. So it is important for you to just think about your branding, and it all wants to flow. So for instance, I've got down here, like this was the branding that Ecamm put together. I'll pull this out of the way a minute. And so I want to try and stay with that. I'd like to think that if you went to if you saw an email and the advert was very much like that, And then you went to the registration page and the colors were the same. And you got, at every stage of it, you've got some branding and some color going on here. And I want to just dial in and stay with that as we're going through this. So yeah, important. You're all going to have different colors and branding, and we're not going to have time to go give it any more time than this really, but I want you just to think as we're going through this, do you have images? Do you have logos and fonts and colors that you use that what I'm showing you here fits in with mine? But actually what you're going to see is, you can take this and maybe you start with what we do. And then actually after this call, before tomorrow, you could jump back, you can have a little play with it and you can brand it up to your colors and branding and let us have a look at it when you come on. So we really are starting from scratch here. And the only one that I've built, other than a quick, I did put in here a little, I'll just come out a live demo to show you it. I did just put in here a little demo. So I'm talking about my colors and things. This would be like my lights, camera, impact, black, white, red. And you can see even the light that I've got behind me here when it's in shot. That's my studio on that side of the room. And it really does, all of those colors follow through. I even painted the wall to be the same, pretty much as close as I could get to be a just off black wall back there. So other than that, I'm coming into this with a completely blank profile. And so we're going to spend our time in this live demo. And what I might try and do actually is just push that off to the side so it's not going to be as distracting for you. Okay, and we'll keep this just down here. So we've had a talk about that. We're thinking how we're going to brand this, or you're hopefully thinking how you're going to brand it. So I'm going to start with a completely new scene. So we're in this scenes window. You remember we get to it from up here if you can't see it. And I'm just going to hit this plus symbol to start a completely new scene. And I put in my default settings that I want a new scene to come in blank. So don't panic that it's gone black. And I'm just going to type on here, me, because I like to keep these really simple. Now I come down to my overlays. So this is, remember I said this is like our blank canvas that we've got if we were just doing a PowerPoint. So now we're going to build it up with overlays. And we can put into this images. Well, you don't, you'll see them because we'll add a few in here, but all of the different overlays that you've got are symbols along the bottom. And so the one I'm going for first is this new camera overlay. So we click on that and it's brought in a camera overlay. And frustratingly, it's already brought in the colors that I want to use because I was playing with it earlier and making sure I was set up. But we're going to turn some of these off, and yours typically will come in like this with nothing on there. And your camera's going to appear floating around. You can adjust the size of it by grabbing it in the corner here. And when you move your cursor over it, you get this little pencil symbol. And this is actually a very consistent navigation that you're going to see on a lot of these overlays that we do. So we're going to keep, this is like 101. This is really the first scene that you should be making. And so I'm going to put in here, what is my video source? So I've got this camera in. In fact, I'm going to be using this camera A up here. Then my shape. Typically, the default will be this 16:9. So the idea is that that could drag all the way across there and fill the window. But you have this option up here for shape, and you can all of these others so that you can see how that would work if you were doing your vertical. I like custom because custom allows me to grab the corner of it and completely shape this wherever I want. So I could put this here and put myself in the middle, and I've put this black box around the outside. But we've got to do better than that. Now, that's basic at the moment, and I one thing I do just want to show you while we're in this design area here, there's a little command and tilde, which if I come up here to, I think it's under options or overlays. Hang on a sec. Where am I? I've lost the thing now. Or window. Hide main camera controls. So under window, hide main camera controls. It shows the shortcut, but it's this one here. And look what it's doing. It's just turning on and off the instructions around the side, the overlays there. So they're really useful for finding things, and you obviously need it to be able to start and stop recording and things. But when you're doing your branding and designing, I turn that off. That is so much nicer to work with. Now I move this around and notice that, look, it gives me a line there to say that we're in the center and we're in the center. So now that box now sits exactly in the center of the window. We can then adjust this, and I am a bit of a stickler for this. If you can come to the corners and it will do it this way. There is a margin that it will let you lock into, and you know that now there is a set border all the way around it. But if you want that to be your own, and you're going to just go a bit, you want a bit more of a border there, like I think we'll do today, then you can bring that in, but just line it up and you'll see that it is letting you know that you are in the center. So you've got the same gap all the way around the edges. Okay, so that's camera brought in, and this is the start of our layer. Now, we're not going to leave that background black because that's a bit boring. So we can, this is what I'm saying. I want to use this branding down here. I want to stick with this style and design that I was given down here. So let's try and recreate this a bit. So the background, what I want to do to put some color in the background is we're going to create an object overlay, which can be a circle, it can be a square, a rectangle, and we're going to get a rectangle and fill the background with it and change the color in there. So down in my overlays, yeah, James, absolutely, that little command tilde thing. It's a wonderful tool. So I've done it again. I mean, it's great. What I'm moaning about is that Ecamm has remembered what I did earlier, so it's given me the same again, but it's kind of gone ahead of what I wanted you to see. So let me start with a different color. I'm going to bring that in. I'll keep it on this window and then it won't be jumping around. Where did it go? So let me for now just pretend that you'd got a red box that came in as your shape. So again, same place, little pencil symbol. Let's call it a rectangle. And we want to push it up to the top left. And then we grab the bottom right and we drag it down so we know we've filled it. And do just make sure that you're not slightly off. Come all the way past it and you know that you've now filled this background color. So what you saw there, we can have a color, we can have a gradient, you can actually have a motion that will kind of move around, but I'm not recommended that one. You can use it as a blur. So if you wanted this over the front, there are, you can actually do this and it will blur out that view through it. There are times when I've done this to create an effect. But let's just stick with, I'm going to go with gradient actually. And what I'd like to do, and let's pull that opacity all the way up. I'm looking down here at the blues. I think with design, if I were to make this background orange, it's going to be way too much. But the blue sits really nice. That dark blue, I think, is lovely in the background there. So what I would do is I pull out my little color picker here, or my palette, and you'll see at the bottom that there's a little pipette symbol. is my color picker. And I could come over here now and I can go, okay, we're going to try and copy this gradient from the dark blue to the light blue. So I can pick one color as being my light blue. See where I did that? So it's under gradient, I've got 2 boxes. And then under the second one, I'm going to do the same again. And this time I'm going to pick right up there, that dark blue. And so now it's given me this gradient from the dark blue to the light blue. In fact, that light seems almost too bright. So I might pick again and come maybe slightly in a bit so it's not quite as strong a gradient. There we go. I think I prefer that one. I can adjust if you want to, you can move this around so the gradient will come side to side or top to bottom. What do we think? Let's go there actually. So the light's at the top down to the dark at the back. And so I've created an overlay that is an object. Now there's a bit of an issue at the moment is that it's in front of the camera. And all that happens on here when you're in this overlays window is the order that they're in, the higher they are at the top, the closer they are to what you're seeing, if that makes sense. The lower number is behind it. So I'm just going to drag that rectangle down below the camera, and now it's gone behind. And actually, if you spot down here, if we want this to be a background color, can you see that it actually says show in background down here? So if I pick this up and drag it down, it's now, when I create a new scene, instead of me having that black that was the default, this is going to be my new default. So there we go. We've put a background in. Now, this looks a little bit, it could be jazzed up a bit on here, couldn't it? And we can either go with one of two. We either go with white or we go with the orange to put a border around this. And so I'm thinking what we do is we say, so we pick, all I've done is I'm picking on the camera symbol. Are we good? Is this Paul is just saying, did I miss how you changed the app background? I can see my desktop versus a plain black background. So yeah, what we did was it was this background overlay. So we created a rectangle and we dragged it into the background. So when I turn that rectangle off, it goes black. So that's how we're doing it. And this is where I want you to, this has got to be your colors. I'm using this as an example that Ecamm have come up with this lovely branding. And so that's what I'm using here as my example. Yours will look different to this. And so you can apply and put your own colors in. It could either be a solid color at the back there, or it could be this gradient just to add a little bit more depth to it. Now, I'm going to come back to this camera here a minute. So all we did previously was choose the camera up here. Now we're going to say, let's put a border on it. And we're going to choose a color. And as you can see, I'd gone with orange. I'll bring this up a minute. So let's try it with a white border. What do you think to that? Come out a live demo. So you can see the difference when I go, and I think actually it's quite powerful, just what a difference it can make by changing around the color that you have on here. So I might stick with the orange on this one. Back in live demo. Oops. Sorry, that was me trying to check I was in. Command Z. So what I did then is my cursor just accidentally pushed that up and it made it go big on there. We'll see in a minute when I get a scene in and we like it, we're going to be able to lock this in. So I've put there an orange, or we've started. So you can see how I'm tying this together. It would feel like you were in the right place. If you'd come from there, you can see there's me. I'm actually in the same black t-shirt. Well, not the same one, but always in a black t-shirt. It looks familiar. It looks like you're in the right place. So we could put that on here. And what else might I do with it? We potentially could round the edges. I'm looking down there everything in that image and the edges of everything are rounded. So still with this border, I can firstly adjust how thick I want that border to be. And again, kind of looking down there as a bit of a guide, I'm going to go with maybe the 6. And then this radius, we can adjust on here how round we want this edge to be. And again, this is a personal preference. I want you to look at yours and think what really suits and what works for you. And then what I'm going to just do at the bottom is we can add a shadow. And I don't know, yeah, you can see it nicely. Come out of live demo. When I turn on and off this shadow, see what it does down there? So I like that. Again, it just adds a bit of depth to it and lets us see a bit of depth to it. Don't know what else to say. All right, so we've got a shadow on there. So we've now created really a very nice looking scene that you could take into Zoom, or you could bring into Zoom tomorrow. And everyone's going to be like, whoa, how did you do that? And I know, because people say it when I show up. So you can play with this. You can adjust this sizing how you want. If you'd got a logo, you could slip that in. And so actually, have I got... No, I'm going to leave that one alone. You saw in my example that I'd got for you, which was over here, that I've left that down and left enough space at the top to be able to write a logo in at the top. And that's just text that I've done, but a similar idea. But what difference already in... we're using exactly the same things, but you can see straight away that, you know, I might show up like this and you might show up like this. And it's actually got a very different feel and vibe to it, hasn't it? So no right or wrong way to do this. And that's why I'm hoping that really, as we're walking through this as a demo, you can be thinking, this is how you're going to apply it to yours. Even the background that you've got in the room here will make a difference. If you're in a very bright white space, it's going to come across very different to mine that is very black and dark in the background. So we can have a go at this. And what did we say we needed to make? We'd got me. Then I wanted to do me with some slides. So I think we'll stay with this as a pretty simple, basic overlay. I'm going to come back into my live demo mode and up to here. So instead of starting from scratch with a new scene, which if I did it, it's going to now look like this because I don't have that black anymore. Or it's remember, we put this in the background so we can see that, but I don't want to do it that way. And I'm trying to delete it, but because there we go. So if I click back on this and I click this second one, which says duplicate, now I can click in here and I can say that my next scene is going to be me and I'd said slides. Okay, so me and slides. And what I've done for this one, and like I'm using here a Google Doc that I've got open. This wouldn't be conventional. This isn't how I'm teaching it to you, really. What I found is, I think one of the nicest ways to do this and bring slides in is to actually build it out in your tool of choice, whether that be Canva or Keynote or PowerPoint. I would export it as a PDF and you can bring it in once and then you can sit and scroll through the pages on that one scene. We could have a look at this one tomorrow if you wanted to. I don't want to go there today, really. I'm just conscious of time. And what I want to do is just build out. So I'll show you what I've got here. And I'm bringing that in. I'm thinking it as I'm saying it, really, that I'm wondering whether I would have been better showing you it. Yeah. No, don't worry. We'll stick with what we've got. So you saw me up here with notes on this window here, and I brought slides in like this one. So this is still very much in keeping with what we've got, and this could fit with this. But what I'm going to do slightly differently is on the Me and Slides, I'm going to now slide, I'm just grabbing this side and I'm moving that over. And I'm going to put myself there. Although actually, because of the way my camera's placed, when I'm looking at my screen, I'm looking that way. What I'm going to do is pull it to this side. So scrub that actually. I'm going to go Command Z to go back because I'm going to keep it. I want the alignment to stay over on that right side. I'm going to pull it back from the left, pop this into here. And then I'm going to bring in my slides. Now I've got this, and you can see it here. It's very simple. I'm just using a Google presentation, and I actually changed the sizing of it to be this. It's a square. So that is my presentation that I'm bringing in. Now this will clash a bit because we've got two different blues on here, and sometimes this is the way you go with building this up. But if I want to bring this in, what I can do is I'm going to bring in a screen share overlay, which is this one here. And it will ask me, we'll try and zoom in and out a bit. I know it's not easy when you're on a small window watching along here. So it's asking me what I want to share, and it's Google Chrome and it's Google Slides. Okay. So when I click on that, it's now going to jump to this. It's offering me the same border and exactly the same framing. So it's going to look like we've, really thought about this and kept it together. So I could bring this in, but there's an obvious issue here that I don't want you seeing the whole presentation. I just want you to see, as I'm moving through here, I just want you to see that bit there, the main window. So this is a really cool feature. We can, instead of me grabbing the edge of this overlay and doing this where it resizes it, if I press my Option key and then I do it, look what happens. It crops the edge. It's beautiful. Or I can grab a corner and I could pull it in like that. I could pull it down from the top. Oh. So we're a little bit off with our blues, but can you see what's happening there? We've now got tabs everywhere. So that was pretty easy, wasn't it? So I've got a Chrome window open on my desktop here, but the only bit I want you to see is this section here. So I ask Ecamm to share that Chrome tab, and then I manually can trim this in to get to where I want. So I'm going to pop this up so that it sits lined up. Look, I get a nice little marker to tell me that I'm in line there. I can bring this back down. In fact, what I might just do is make this a little bit bigger. It means that I can be a bit bigger. So I deliberately didn't go for a 16:9 slide because it ends up with a whole load of wasted space on there. So I've deliberately picked one that I think will work in this space. I'm just positioning, and actually, why don't I try and match the sizes of it a bit? Great having these little blue markers. Now, personally, I'm not loving how the blues are different. And I'm a little bit OCD, but it's making me want to go back into my overlays, which are here. Actually, I don't need to do it that way. I can do it from here. Nope. We're going to do it from here. Right. Show in background. So the overlay that I've got in the background, this blue rectangle, if I click the little symbol on there, it brings up my settings. What I might do, because I've got a gradient on that overlay there, I might actually go with a solid color. And I'm thinking if I pick the darkest bit of this and might even go a tad darker, because I think the beauty of this orange is we can use it with a very deep navy there, really. So although I originally came at this with a gradient, now that I've brought this overlay in, I feel that it needs a more solid background to this. Does that make sense? So it's being a bit flexible to be able to do this. I could spot there's a little bit of white from inside the frame there as well, so I'm keeping that in. So I've now changed this, that my background is this navy. I want that to be centered, and I'm trying to make sure that these edges are the same there. And I am going to bring the camera into the same. Okay, so I like that. What do you think? Cindy says, yes, it's really nice. Good. Thank you, Paul. Just putting a reminder in there to make sure that you register to come and join us for the training tomorrow. Anybody that's joined us partway through. So look what happens now. I've got two scenes. And can we get rid of this? I'm getting a bit messy on here, aren't I? It's because I want to be able to zoom in and keep you. I want to try and make this minimal for you as you're looking. So when we look at these scenes, when I now go, we put a setting in here that is a transition between scenes of motion. And look what happens when I go from this one and I say, let's go across to the slides. How cool is that? How it changes now between these different windows. So we've brought that in, we've changed across between these two, and this is now how I could run that presentation. But be careful, because as I move this around, it could potentially change what's happening there. So I would be doing this when you've got things in place and you know that you're working on. And then look, I can now click through these and jump between these PowerPoint slides. So that's one way to do this. All right, so we've now created the first scene, and then we've created this scene, or you could be using it like that. You can see on there how that's jumped because I've got it on a different window before. Okay. So we've created me and slides. The next one I wanted to do was me and comments. And again, what I'm going to do is copy this over. Now I'm going to take this one off the screen. I know it's going to mess up that window. Oh, it hasn't. Amazing. But I want to get this back so that I want this to look consistent for you and for me working through this. So, me and slides. Now, what you might not realize is that I'm going to use the same technique for bringing the comments on screen as what we've done for doing this. It's called a screen share. So literally anything that I've got on my screen. So here's the comments. They're sitting here on my screen. I want to pull them in to be something that's branded and sitting in here. So can you remember? We don't start from scratch. We go the second button along to duplicate. And I'm going to, again, give this a nice, obvious name. And we'll call this me and comments. So it's done me a duplicate. Nothing has changed. But now I come into this overlay. And instead of selecting that Chrome window, which when I click the pencil, that's what's there. I now say Ecamm. And I want Ecamm's comments and reactions. And in it comes. Now, okay, I tell you what's happened here. Because I cropped the previous one, it's kept that crop in this one. So actually, this would be a time where we're not going to copy across that screen share. I'm going to delete that one out. And we're going to bring in a new screen share. And I'm going to ask it, what do I want? Ecamm, comments and reactions. See, that's very different now, how that's come in. Because does that make sense? What I did on that last one was to crop the edges in. And I'm going to do that a bit because I don't want to see this count at the top. So I can do Option again and pull that down. I can actually do it on the edges and I can lose that last little bit there. So I really am trimming in the comments a little bit more that side. So I'm just pressing the Option key down all the time that I'm moving that around. It's telling me up there that that's the top line. That's the bottom line. Okay. And I need to adjust to fit, because of the format, the shape of it, I can't do a lot about that. So I'm just going to adjust to this. So again, now if I want to, I can come up from me here. And let's just come out of live demo. So I can come from me and I could bring on my slides. Oops, I've done the wrong one. I could bring on my comments. I could come back to me. I could say, let's go over to the chat. And we've got our chat here. And as you can see, that is a live pull in there. I can scroll up and down from this side. Cindy says, how did you do the transitions? Yep, that's understandable. So while I'm in here, I don't actually need to have this window open. I can push that to another browser or my laptop at the side of me, another window, and I've got this one here. Good, Anne-Marie's enjoying it. Let me just show Cindy then how we get this back. So remember, I turned off my controls. I need to turn those back on with that Command tilde. When we set this up, we asked it, and live demo mode. Sorry, you missed that because I wasn't in live demo. Down here, we bring up our preferences, and where is it? Where's it gone? Under video. The default transition is live motion. So it will do all other ones there, but live motion's what you want. All right. So now I'm changing. Now notice because I duplicated it, I edited one and I was working on the wrong one, unfortunately. So this isn't slides. This is me and comments. And then this one here was me and slides. So it's important to make sure that you're branded and named correctly on here. That's pretty quick and easy, isn't it? To be able to do this. I might actually try to... No, I'll leave it alone. Right, what have I got? So I'd got on my notes over there, I'd said that we were going to build me and slides, me and comments, and then comments overlay. So I like to bring comments onto the window as well. This is a feature you're going to love if you haven't seen this before. So we can actually use right at the top under overlays, there's an option there that says add a placeholder comment overlay. And when I do that, it brings in, I am sorry, this is all looking very perfect straight in because I've already branded it up. Yours will look black and plain and quite dull to start with. So bring this in. And what we're going to do is, you can see what's happening. It's going to bring a profile picture. It's got a name and it's got text in here. We'll click the same pencil symbol. We're editing all of our overlays exactly the same way. So before we go to edit text, I want you to change the style from dynamic to a text box shrink. The reason being, if I'm in dynamic, in fact, let's show you. If I'm in dynamic and we've got this placeholder here, and I bring in from the chat, Kendra. So Kendra's comment here, I could brand this up and think, there's not a lot of text there, and I'm really pleased that you're learning so much, Kendra. So I could get this all nicely lined up, and then Val is my next comment, which has got more text in there. And look what happens. All of a sudden, Val's one gets a lot bigger. Let's find some others. There's Paul's one that's a big one. So it's completely changing the shape of these boxes based on how much text you've got. And that might be okay, but a lot of the time you want it to be locked down. So what I can do is, instead of it being dynamic, I can say text box shrink, and all it will do is reduce the size of the text. Now, I'm not sure what it will do with Paul's longer one here, but you can see how much smaller it's had to make it there to fit that text in. So maybe I start with a bigger one. And then if Cindy's comment comes in, it's the same size. It's kept the size of the box down here, but it's changed the size of the font. So it's shrunk it to fit. Does that make sense? So would you have a different scene for each slide, Paula? Depending. I used to do it that way. Now I'm doing it that I bring in a PDF, as I said a minute ago, and I can just go page by page rather than creating a whole new scene for every slide. But I'm looking at that. I'm going to take this edging off again. Are we in live demo? There we are. I'm going to take my controls off. I quite like that, just sort of dropping off the side there a bit. So it's, you see what I'm doing? We've just made it so it's, rather than it's standing on its own or up here, you might have a different preference. Might actually look quite nice to tuck it in there so it looks part of it. But I think just slightly offsetting it looks good. The other thing we're going to do is transition. So we're still in this overlays. I hope your heads are hurting a bit. I hope this is actually starting to blow your minds a little bit, all the options you've got. So you're going to be able to do this on your Zoom calls as well as on live sessions like these. Your customers are going to love it. There is a transition that says, instead of none, fly in from bottom. So every time a question comes in, it flies in from the bottom like this. I'll come back to that one in a minute, Eric, if I can do. In fact, let me just stick a favorite on that and I'll come back. So yeah, Cindy, absolutely. I changed it. I've put it in showing backgrounds. And so every time we create a new scene where the default was blank, it's going to show that same. So we could play with this color once, and I could completely change that and make it pink if I wanted to. And then every scene, the background will change and be the same. Great. Loving it. Shaka, does that mean you're just catching us by chance? Lovely to have you here. Cindy, head is spinning. Looking forward to using it on my Zoom call. Yeah, totally. Imagine this showing up on Zoom and just going from nothing to being able to bring comments on screen. There is a default setting that says turn these comments off after 15 seconds, and I typically would have that on. But it actually is quite nice that you could bring up a comment from a chat and say, let's just talk about this for a minute. So it's a great way to be able to spotlight, bring something on as a teaching point. And as you're seeing, it does bring in people's profile pictures as well, like this from the chat, and you can just adjust the size of it. Now, we haven't actually branded the text. We definitely need to do that. So we're going to click Edit Text at the top of here. Jumped across to another window. And so you can see what I've done here. I've changed the text at the top. Firstly, I'm picking up fonts that work here. So Ecamm will pull in any fonts that you've got on your computer. So if you've got fonts installed, or you can go and install fonts onto your computer and it will automatically bring them into here. And you can just go right down this list here and pick these different fonts that you want. So, from a standard Arial on there, we haven't been doing it on this one, actually. What was this? Thunder, isn't it? Is the font that we're using. Thunder. So I could keep that on there. I can even adjust this kerning that makes the space change. And I can change the text color. So we're going to stick with our orange on this one, but then I don't want orange and I don't want a heavy font like that for comments. I need to be able to read them quite easily. So what might we go with for a font to read? Outfit. Outfit is what is on actually. So a regular font like this and I don't want orange on there. I want to keep that as white. Let's change it. And I press save on there and it will change it over here. So it's actually where we were to start with, but you can see how you could go into that, edit text, choose one element or the other and change it around. So Poppins is another one that we're using. I could click that and now it brings that in and it will change. Every comment that comes in is now going to be branded up. Absolutely, Paul. Come on, let's have some virtual applause. I can see 47 thumbs up. Yeah, absolutely, Sharon. And this is what I was saying at the start, actually, that's the beauty of it being on YouTube is that you can just go back. You know, this will instantly turn into a replay straight away over here on YouTube, same address. So you can come back and watch this again. And if, you know, maybe you're following along some bits of it and you think, okay, I need to go back to that bit. You can hopefully come back through and find it. All right, so what have we done? We've got me. We've got me and comments when I want to just see everything on there and be able to scroll up like this. I think that's a nice way to do it. Certainly in a busy stream like this. I've got me with those slides. And then up in that plain one here is when I can bring these comments on and off. And we set that so that they come in from the bottom. Now, where are we up to? 20 past 5. When am I supposed to be? Oh, I'm actually in about 5 minutes meant to be coming on to the next bit. I'm going to very quickly create you some more scenes. So we're in me at the minute, and I want one ready for tomorrow that is my active me plus an active camera. So we're just going to ignore that alarm when it goes off in 5 minutes. So I'm going to say up here, I want to duplicate me, and I'm bringing it down, and I'm going to call this one, let me zoom in a bit. Me and active. All right. Make sure that I'm definitely, you can see that there's a white box around the one that you're actively working on. So it's not the end of the world if you duplicate it and change the wrong one. You just got to change your names. So we're going to be me and active. I want to be able to bring a guest on at the side of me in Zoom, and Zoom will pick the active speaker. It's a really cool new feature. Well, it's fairly new. So I'm going to do the same thing again, and I'm going to grab one edge of this. I'm not doing option. I don't want to crop it. I'm just pulling it over, and I'm going to put me about there. Cool feature. I'm going to press option, holding it in the middle here. All right, pause and just watch this a second. Option, drag it across, and I've now created another overlay. So at the minute, it's just a duplicate of me. And I need to just try and get this so that the spacing is similar. And what I tend to do is just take one back over the top of the other I can see that the one below is slightly smaller than the top one. That's about right. Okay, so I've got two of me on here. And what we're going to do now, again, because of the way this angle is, and if I'm not looking straight at the camera, I'm going to be looking this way. I'm going to bring my guest in on that side. So I'm going to hit the pencil. You should know where these are by now with the overlays. And my video source, instead of it being a camera, I've got Zoom active speaker. And so I click on that, and it's now just going to put a placeholder here that when we get into Zoom tomorrow and I have an active speaker, it'll pull them in. Now, if you find that you don't have this option for Zoom active speaker, it's because you don't have it in your preferences. So if I tick on here to come back into my preferences, and under Zoom, it says, yeah, include a Zoom active speaker camera. So yours won't be ticked. That would be the only reason. So if you don't see the option for an active speaker, it's because you don't have that ticked. So again, I'm coming from this scene here. And I say, right now I'm going to bring the active speaker on with me, or, let's bring Val up, and I can tick on this. Again, beautiful, isn't it? Just slides across like that. And it comes from me being full screen to me with my active speaker. Now, we're going to come a little bit further than this. I'm racing, but I'm enjoying it. So me and active is great, but maybe you come on and say, hey, I want to, look at my wonderful branding that I've done. Well, it's a shame to crop it, isn't it? So like on here, we're kind of, there's my alarm. It's a shame for me to crop this, and only, I'm not going to see the full frame that you've made. So what I'm going to do is duplicate me and active again. And I'm going to say me and active 16 by 9. What I mean by that is I want my active speaker to be able to have their shape as a full 16 by 9, which is big. Let's pull me. So as I adjust them, because it's locked into that proportion, this is what I was meaning about a 16 by 9 slideshow. I can go to the edge. I don't want to go right to the edge. I want to keep some frame there. So the option is I'm going to have to go small. And that's fine. So I can make my active speaker over here. I'm going to come down a bit. Again, I'm just locking into that center line. I'm taking off those controls. So maybe I've come from here. I'm on my main window. I then jump across to, I've brought my active speaker across because maybe we're just chatting and this is all we need. And certainly for you, for most of your Zoom meetings, this is all you would need to do. If you were recording a podcast, it would be lovely to do this and have you and your guest. And remember that at the start, I don't want to go back because of time, but you can watch back in the replay when we went through the settings and the recordings. We talked about an ISO recording. And that means that although we're sitting in this branding, you're going to get the original 16 by 9 of you and any of your guests that you bring on. So when the recording is finished, you're going to get all of these files that you could go back and use them for testimonials or clips or things like that. So important to turn that on in the settings. So I've come from me and active, and then you say, hey, I'd love to show you this branding that I've done. So I say, yeah, sure, let's pop you full size. And I take a seat back here a bit and I'm looking in at what you're doing. That's pretty cool, isn't it? That's mostly what I need to do tomorrow. The only other one would have been a gallery view. We can hang on with that because, me and a website with a widget. I tell you what we'll do. We're going to do that at the start of tomorrow's call because I'm conscious of time and I want to make sure we've got plenty of time for some questions. I will also show you tomorrow. I wasn't particularly planning on bringing it into this, but how to use a Stream Deck and actually the way I would use buttons to go between this instead of having to have a cursor and clicking up here to jump between them. So I'll make a note of that and I'll come on to that one. Now, so they're the first. We've done planning, we've done building, we've now got practicing, and I need to come out of that. That doesn't look very clever, does it? We've now got practicing, and honestly, this is the biggest tip because you can do all of this beautiful design and lay it all out. And I've heard it so many times that people say, oh, it was an absolute nightmare. I got all this stuff ready and people couldn't hear me. They were saying that the background music was too loud. They couldn't read the text. All of these things happen because we don't practice, right? So it really is essential, and don't leave it till the last minute when you haven't got time. If you take one thing away from today, it's make sure you practice. And when I talk about practicing, I mean checking that your scenes work and that you can go from one to the other. So what I would do actually is I would hit record and I would just go, okay, I've got my script in front of me, right? So at this point I'm here. And then at this point, I want to be able to bring comments on. And then at this point, oh yeah, I've got slides. So I'm going to work through my slides and I need over here to just make sure that, is that working all right? Yes, back to me. And I'm going through this. I'm actually talking so that I can hear the volume and checking that none of the scenes have got a mute on accidentally, because it's possible for me to accidentally click mute. Yeah. So we don't want to be doing that. But by me going through the scenes first and checking all of this through, if I've got videos, I want to make sure that they're at the same volume. Yeah, you know, all of these things get knocked out if you just practice it and do a quick recording through, stop it, play it back. Does it all sound okay? You know, if you've got this, it's again, you know, so many examples we've had. You know, maybe the cable's not quite in far enough in a microphone and there's a ee kind of noise going all the way through, and you show up on your live and everyone in the comments going, what's going on? The sound's awful. And it'll kill you. You know, it's a horrible thing. You won't show up again. So practicing. And this is a big reason for like our academy that we do, is we give you plenty of space to practice. If you don't have folk that you can get on with, you can practice with us and make sure that before you go out into the scary world and do this, you've actually know that you've run through it a few times. Checking that you're doing your ISO recordings as well, if you need to be able to capture that extra person that's coming in as active. So we're just running through all of these things as a bit of a pre-check, really. Then also headphones, would be just thinking about that as well when you're practicing, and or in that, yeah, practicing stage, just making sure that if you're doing interviews, like I'm not needing them today because there's no sound. I mentioned this earlier, but if tomorrow when I come on, I'll have some in-ear headphones in that hopefully you won't really see, but it'll just mean that the microphone here isn't hearing the sound out of the speaker, and then we end up with this kind of echo effect, is slap back. All right. So practice. You're all going to do that, right? I want everybody right in there. I will practice in the comments. Then we finally get on to delivering. And if you've done the practicing, then actually when you deliver this, it's just practicing one more time, or it feels like that. I certainly, when I'm reading from a script, I'll read it through a couple of times, and then by the time I actually hit record and I read a script, it just feels easy. Like I know what words are coming next. It becomes second nature. And it's the same with this. If I've jumped between scenes and I know that at this point I'm going to do this, well done, Cindy. Full marks. The only person who said they're going to practice. So yeah, the delivering bit is the easy bit. That you've practiced this through and you know that you can get on. And I love it. And I've done it myself. And I can hear somebody saying, oh, you seem quiet. And I think, no, I know I'm fine because I've already run through this like 10 minutes ago and practiced it. So it takes some of that distraction out as well. And it just guarantees you can just sit back, not be worrying about that, and focusing on the interview or the presentation or the meeting, whatever it is. What I would just say when it comes to actually doing this, make sure that you've got as many apps turned off as possible. So I'm literally in my toolbar at the minute. I will prove it. Can't even see my toolbar. There we go. I've got nothing. The only things open are Chrome and Ecamm. All of the rest of them and my Stream Deck, which I thought we were going to need. That's sitting over here waiting. Everything else is turned off. And I do kind of annoy people by going on about this, but it makes a massive difference. Or even if you've only got Chrome open, I've seen people with like 50 tabs open and they're all draining. They're all taking processor power that we want here. Else that's when you find things start sticking, or you could suddenly freeze altogether. They would be the first things that I would be turning off, is making sure that you've got nothing open that doesn't need to be. Put yourself in a focus mode, like do not disturb. Let people know around you that no one's going to suddenly come bouncing in the door telling you something. Be ready early, and then just relax and go for it. And they're the 4 pillars, the 4 foundations, really. So we plan it in advance, we build it, we practice it, and then we deliver it. And it's going to work like a charm, and you're going to get on great. Right. So before we get to the Q&A, just a little quick reminder, make sure to come and join us tomorrow. It's going to be super good. We're going to, we've got the main things done now. So I don't really need to build much more. I'm going to be really led by you for 2 hours. You can have your, you can come on and show me what you've been building. I'll bring some of you on. If you want to ask me questions, if you got a specific need and you want me to show how to build that scene, then I will do that. I think we had a couple. I need to be able to show you where my sales page is. But we'll come to them. That's fine. And I'm going to talk a lot about the Ecamm into Zoom, or you'll see it as we're doing it, the whole Ecamm into Zoom setup, because coming into Zoom through Ecamm is easier. Owen and I both do it, and it's just second nature now that we don't go to Zoom. We always come through Ecamm when we're doing it. I'll show you how to do that. I'll walk through some settings that you need and actually talk about some common problems that people have with low resolution and things like that. Do a bit of reviewing. And we'll just have some fun. You get to experience how this works when we're actually in Zoom. Okay. And if you're enjoying this and, just within this hour and a half, you think, wow, I've learned a load here. And you're just scratching the surface. Literally, we've built some pretty basic scenes there. There is so much more that we could do. That is why we've put together our Ecamm Live Academy. And as I said, we've had over 2,000 people come through this. Lots of folk come back through time again. Usually with every academy, half the people there are people that have come back through again because they enjoy it so much. There's always new things to learn. And a lot of those alumni are on the call here as well. So our Ecamm Live Academy starts next Monday. We will get 2 weeks together. We're going to be daily Zoom calls. And at this time, at the time that we started here, which was 4 o'clock for me. So we'll start every day at this time. And we really are going to go similar to this, but in more detail. So we're going to have the first day talking about branding, and then I'm going to build you up some scenes. I was inspired recently. I'm working with some high-level coaches and realized they're not going to sit and go through the 9 hours of content that I give you in my Ecamm Live Academy. They just tell me what I need to do. And I realized that it's fairly basic, the setting that, you don't need to do a lot here to be able to be going out there and really looking amazing on your videos. So I'm coming at it like that I really want to keep this simpler this time around in our Ecamm Academy, that we're not going to go building all flashy whizzy things. It's just going to be something pretty simple, but it's something that you can all keep up with. And then we'll do that across a week. And in the second week, we're going to have time to practice and have a play with what you've been building. Get to interview people, do different things, trying to break it in a safe space so that when you go out, all of the bugs and things you'll have made sure, well, not bugs, but all the issues that you might face, you'll have faced in here. All right, so that's how we run our 2 weeks. I'm going to tell you more about it tomorrow, and I don't want to give you a link today because if you come and join us tomorrow and register, then I'm going to be able to give you a nice discount as well for anybody who comes through and joins us in Ecamm Live Academy. So that's me done on that. I've got about 20 minutes now that we can jump across to comments. And so let me come to my comments window. So any questions? And I'm not sure if anybody spotted. I did actually have one that I favorited, and it was just asking about. So please pop any questions in now. Put a Q if you can, and then it will help me to see that it's an actual question. I do just want to show you. Somebody said, how was I doing this and zooming in and out? It's up here in your system settings, and it's under accessibility and zoom, I hope. Yeah. So accessibility and then zoom. And then within this zoom area, it says here to use the scroll gesture with modifier key. And then the modifier key that I've chosen is option. So you can change that. So what that's saying is, if you go into that accessibility, zoom, turn on using the scroll gesture. Sorry. Yeah. You want them all on. Use the keyboard shortcut to zoom. Trackpad gesture to zoom. So pop these on. And then, so now all I'm doing is I've got my finger on the option key, and with my mouse, I'm scrolling it back, or it could be on a trackpad, and that's how it's doing it. Now, what you do just need to know is that it will zoom in to wherever your cursor is. So if my cursor's over here and I do option and zoom, it's going that way. If my cursor's over this side and I do it, see how it zooms in that side. So yeah, there you go. That's how we do that. And it's, I actually think this is my favorite way to do a screen share. I know ultimately live demo mode is done because if I wasn't in live demo mode, then Ecamm can't see itself. It assumes I'm trying to do a screen share and I don't want to see the actual Ecamm bit. And so because I'm doing tutorials of Ecamm, I need to be using the live demo. But actually, even when I'm not using Ecamm or when I'm not teaching Ecamm particularly, like I could bring this Stream Deck on here, and instead of having to change my screen around, I get a bit lazy really. I just drag it onto the window and go, right, let's have a look at this Stream Deck thing, and I'll show you how to set this up. And it becomes a super easy way to work. So live demo mode is one of your buttons. I've got that under a shortcut up here, but again, you've got that as, where do we find, there it is, live demo mode. So Shift Command D, and it puts a red box around the window for me. And then I can use the option and zoom in and out, and it lets me do this. So again, something you can have a play with when you get off of here. If that's something you often need to do, you're teaching software. So if remember how I did it when I brought the comments like this now, that would look a bit messy if I said, oh, let's have a look at the comments and I do this. That's a bit ugly. I want, it's way better to have this nicely branded. So different options, different tools for different options. Right, I'm going to come out of my live demo for a second and just see what you're saying. Steve, I read that as terrible. My eye just kind of read terror. Been terrific. Lovely. I'm pleased to hear it. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Rachel's just helping me out there. So Ecamm Academy starts the 9th of March. By all means, you can have a look. It's Ecamm Live Academy is the website. But if you're wanting to join us and buy, then wait till tomorrow because I'm going to give you a nice discount. Super helpful. Yeah, Sherry Hewitt. So Sherry's a classic who has come through every time and only missed one. Fantastic. So the Ecamm Academy is, so what we do, yeah, sorry, Cindy. I will go into this in more detail tomorrow. The Ecamm Live Academy, you firstly buy a huge library of online training. So all the things that I'm doing here, I've put together 9 hours of video training that is in very neat little chapters that tells you. So if you wanted to do, how do I do a camera overlay, you could sit and watch a little 10-minute video of me bringing in and showing you how to do that. So you get that. So people buy Ecamm Academy all year round and they get access to that training straight away. And then twice a year we run ELA Live. And so if you've bought it, so I think we've already got a stack of people who have already bought Ecamm Academy, and we contact them a week or two before and say, the next live event is coming up. Your ticket is included. And so you can come and join us for that 2-week live event. And yeah, every day I show up on a live. You're in a Facebook group, so there's lots of space to ask questions. We'll be giving you assignments and homework, making it really fun. Yeah. And then you can see people are coming back through at a discounted rate to come as many times as you want as alumni. Work with the Roadcaster video, wondering how Ecamm would integrate with that. Yeah. David, I'm not sure. So are you meaning to use the buttons on that instead of a Stream Deck? I don't think there's that integration. I don't know if you've got multiple cameras that are in that. That's if for folk that don't know what David means, he can actually plug multiple cameras into one device and use it as a switcher to jump between cameras A, B, C. And Ecamm will only see one. It'll see the device and it will see one camera. So you'll just need to be switching cameras separately and having one placeholder. David, if you can join us tomorrow, that's the sort of thing maybe we could answer easier on the Zoom. Am I going to show how to add a song track to sound effects? Yeah, absolutely, Catherine. We can do that tomorrow. Add a song. The beauty tomorrow as well is because we're in Zoom, we can play any music and it's not going to get flagged up. Like I need to whitelist certain songs to be able to play, and we've done it in the past where maybe, and it can be one that I've purchased, as a royalty-free track, but it's purchased to play on my channel. And then if I were playing it like now on Ecamm's channel, they would get flagged up as playing music that they hadn't bought. So it can get really tricky doing this. And I know Catherine's creating her own music, her own songs, but even that can get flagged up and there can be issues. So when we're doing it in Zoom, it's tons easier. So we can play around in there. We can literally just put Spotify on and play your music as a little intro or something, background music at a point where you wanted to have a break and say, a session like this, maybe we'd have gone an hour into it. We might have said, actually, I'm just going to put a 5-minute, break on here, comfort break, and I could play some music and it wouldn't matter what I was playing because we're hidden inside that meeting. Okay. Brilliant, Cindy. So you're talking about that. I'm just seeing your comment up here, but you're talking about being able to zoom in like that. Excellent. Yeah, absolutely, Val. As you say, you're just going to drag it onto that window. Yeah. So, Rach, help Jimmy out with the times there. I'm trying to remember what we did in the end. We'd got this. Oh, there we go. Rach has put an answer down here. Look, the live calls will be at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern, but it's still 4 p.m. for the UK. And thankfully, I think that's consistent all the way through. We've done an academy before where the clocks change, because for us, your clocks change before ours in the UK, and it can be a right pain trying to schedule things. Can you show us the whiteboard option? As the Zoom whiteboard, I've got a better version for you. Natalie, do you happen to have an iPad by any chance? Let me know in the comment below. If you've got an iPad, I'm going to show you a much better way to do whiteboard. One of the things with Zoom is it's just awkward getting to these things. It's like, okay, let me just share my screen. Right. And you press the green button. What am I sharing? You got to choose that. And then you get into the advanced ones where you could use the whiteboard and you're trying to draw with your mouse. It's horrible. So if you've got an iPad and a pen, it's beautiful. and I will show that tomorrow. I've just written a note down here. I'll make sure that we use an iPad. And Natalie. Okay. Yep. So we've done that one about zooming in. Cindy, if you've bought already, I tell you how you could find out. If you go to adriansalisbury.com/login, if you've got a login, you can have a look and you'll see in a library whether you've already purchased before, or Rachel, you could contact us and Rachel could check and see whether you have or not. Do I talk about lighting, cameras, mics, editing, etc. in the academy, or strictly Ecamm? Paula, what I do, that's a completely different product of mine that I do. So I do talk about it on the Saturday. So we stick to Ecamm, and it was always deliberate. I don't want people to come in and think, you need to have a proper camera and things. If someone wants to use a webcam, you can absolutely do that, and you can still go through our training. So I've put it as an extra really on the Saturday in the middle to say, if you want to come and learn how to look professional, then we can do a session on that. And I've actually I've created I'll show you it on that Saturday, but I've created a new office space here really, in that I'm sitting at my workstation at the moment with a camera and a prompter. But over there is another camera and a bigger prompter, and it really is set up there for me to just be able to record my YouTube videos and things straight into it. So I can show you those. I've got all the options set. That really is my main service that I do, is helping people set up home studios. So yeah, we will have a look at that for sure. You thought you heard 2nd to the 14th. Oh no. So yeah, it's, Sherry, that'll be 2 you've missed. Yeah, no, it's the 9th to the 20th. Audio lag between your Rodecaster Duo and Ecamm. I've tried adjusting the delay on both, but doesn't play nice. Yeah, I haven't messed with the audio I've got the Rodecaster Duo. In theory, I thought I was going to be able to fix all my delay in there, but I leave it alone in there because it messes it up for the feed going out and things. So you bring it into here, and I think Val mentioned before the audio delay, there's, I've got a YouTube video talking about it as well, but I literally just open up the delay in here, and there's a slider that you can move. So I've got mine set to 7 frames, which is about a 1/4 second. If we've got 25 frames, yeah. So you can open it up, and I would just hit record, and I would start talking, and I would say, this is it with 0 frame delay. And I would move it across to 1 or 2. This is it with 2 frame delay. This is it with 4 frame delay. And you're just watching it back until you can see that actually you're in line. You can do a technical way. There's apps that you can do, and you can find out exactly how many frames it is, but you can spot whether you're out of sync or not. So that's how I'm doing it. And so leaving the Rodecaster Duo with its regular feed and not playing with the delay that has, but then I'm changing it and using it in Ecamm. And that's one of the reasons that I always use Ecamm. We use Kajabi for live calls. If I were going out to Zoom or anything else, I choose Ecamm and Ecamm Virtual Mic as my 2 inputs for the camera and the audio. So I know that if I've fixed it in here, then when it goes to anywhere else, it keeps it. So yeah, it's absolutely fixable, Mike. So similar thing there. You can get it better. Yeah, absolutely. You can eliminate that. And there's a big use of Ecamm as well. There's a lot of things you can do in here, or by planning it, using a teleprompter, recording it well here in Ecamm, that actually means you don't have to do a lot of editing other than sort of trimming the start and end. I ran a whole, it was over an hour. I'd got 3 cameras going. I was demonstrating a craft, like how to do stuff on the desk here. And with my Stream Deck, I'm cutting between the cameras at the right points. It was incredible. I literally did the whole thing, and all I did to edit was just pull the start and the end in, and it went up. And you'd have thought an editor had spent, half a day putting it together. So Ecamm really can save you doing a lot of editing afterwards. And certainly things like that. Showing the lyrics line by line. Yep. Could you use a Stream Deck? You could. And you could actually, there's a Stream Deck pedal, which I've got on the floor over there, that you could actually put the same actions. You got 3 pedal actions. You could put it on that so that it would be like next scene, and you could move it through that way if you wanted to. Would love to be able to play your own music. Yeah. So in Zoom, you can. So I'm not quite sure what you mean there, Lisa. Again, these are the questions. These will be much easier in Zoom tomorrow because I can actually just unmute you and just ask you to ask me and tell me a bit more details. Yeah, that's the delay calculator that Paul's talking about. 6 video inputs. I want to set the program feed to Ecamm so I can bring YouTube comments, etc. Yeah. Yeah, so David, you would just bring those in. It would just mean that like I'm reaching down here for my Stream Deck, you would be reaching down for your 6 inputs. It will mean that it's only going to record one of them coming through. So you've presumably already got an external device that is recording to get them all clean feeds. Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. It's bring it in, get all these comments and things. I like that. So the time changes on the 8th. That's right. So it's the day before we start. So the first date is the 9th. Yes to iPad, Natalie. Excellent. Right. Well, I'll bring mine out to play tomorrow. Again, you can jump on and ask me, and we'll see what we can do. How are we doing? I'm looking over there, and I should be looking there, really. In fact, I could even stick it over here. Nope, didn't like that. I'll put it back here. Okay, there's a teleprompter built in. Okay, so what that will do, Jimmy, I imagine, is it gives you another window to place and put somewhere. So, yeah, you could slide that over onto your teleprompter and use it that way. I'm just seeing what's... Yeah, so Stephen's coming back here and answering. You've tried it. It's not perfect. You really can get inaccurate. It might be that you're doing it wrong, or you're going too far one way or the other. I certainly found I was doing that in the Rodecaster. I was trying to go, the jumps were too big because you're talking in hundredths of a frame or something. Yeah, multicam, absolutely, we can do in here. I could bring a second camera in. I could turn that camera on tomorrow if you wanted. 2 Stream Deck pedals. Come on, showing off. Maggie says, sign up, everyone. You'll love it. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow and again in March. Come on. Is there a way to use Ecamm on iPad? No. It needs to be run from a computer rather than an iOS device. But yeah, you can feed it in so that actually you're in effect, yeah, if you're meaning to use it so you don't have to have a Mac, then no. But you could absolutely, in the same way that I kind of went full screen on here with my camera, it could be your iPad that is doing everything and running the show. It just needs to go through a Mac to go out. The software needs to be this. Yep. Coming back for a refresher, Yvette. It'd be lovely to see you again. So there you go. Stephen's asking you questions already. Are you using a pedal to show the lyrics? Rodecaster 2. Yep. Thinking that we can talk about in the course rather than tomorrow. Okay. Okay, Catherine. Yeah. Well, that's up to you, Catherine, whether you feel that, that the first week is you get enough from it. Right. So this is nice as well. Like you're answering each other's questions here. When we get into Zoom tomorrow, if you're able to both come, Stephen and Yvette, I can bring Yvette up as my co-host and Stephen could come up as active camera, and it'll give us a chance to play and show how you can do this and have a conversation. Remembering, of course, that I won't be doing it tomorrow, but I know of plenty of people, certainly in churches, who actually do the remote production for them. Somebody else in the church they've got Ecamm open on their computer, but they're never on screen. They're bringing a feed in from a pastor. They're playing song lyrics. They're putting notices up. Maybe they're playing a video. So you can you don't have to be on camera to be the one running the show. So yeah, like what I'm just saying about almost bringing you two in, I could kind of go, right, I'm going to hand over to you now. You're my host. I've brought you on. In fact, I will be doing this in the second week when Fulgens comes on. Fulgens is going to do a masterclass session with us. He's incredible with his design. And so I will introduce Fulgens, and then I'm going to disappear, and you'll see him on there as if it was his show. And then I'll be able to just change the scene and come back up and ask him a question, but leave him to do his magic. All right. Right. We're going to leave it there. We are bang on time. And as I've talked about timings as being one of those things that we plan for, we need to stick to it. Do people build on the fly? Are you meaning while we're in this, or, we will be building? You can build on the fly. That's what Preview's for, but I really discourage it unless you are the second person and you're putting someone else up. Right. Be the host for the speaker. Kimea is suiting you. Brilliant. Right. Okay. I keep saying we're going to go, but it's always hard. I don't like to just leave that last question that's coming through. I don't have a countdown. We don't have an outro. So I am going to just hit finish on here. And that will be the end of the session. You can watch the replay back if you want. Make sure that you're signed up for tomorrow. And I look forward to seeing you at the same time. I'm going to do some magic. Well, not literally, but Ecamm magic, right? Okay, see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a good sleep. Bye.